The Great Hall of the Galactic Council stretched out like a small moon. 12 different alien races sat in their special seats, each one built for their unique bodies. The crystal beings called Zephyrians sparkled like living diamonds. The gas-like Nethrim floated in their clear tanks. The bug-like Klaxon buzzed quietly to each other, with their many arms moving. Ambassador Veltar stood up from his crystal chair. His body caught the light and threw rainbow colors across the room. He had been the speaker for his people for over 200 years. Today felt like any other day, boring paperwork and small problems to solve. Council members, Veltar said, his voice ringing like wind chimes. We have one last item today. The scouts have found another new species. General Thane of the Caridian Empire rolled his 4 eyes. His thick gray skin had scars from many old battles. He was the military leader for the council, and he was tired of dealing with new species. They were always the same, weak, primitive, and needing help to join civilized space. Where are they this time? Thane asked, his deep voice rumbling through the hall. Sector 7 Alpha, Veltar replied. He waved his hand, and a big screen appeared in the air. It showed a small yellow star with several planets around it. They call themselves humans. They live on the 3rd planet from their star. The council members looked at the images with mild interest. They had done this thousands of times before. New species would build simple rockets, leave their home planet, and then the council would find them. It was always the same pattern. What do we know about them? Asked Councillor Mirren of the Abyssal Republic. Her blue skin shimmered like water, and gills on her neck opened and closed slowly. Veltar touched another control. More images appeared, showing human ships and colonies. The ships were small and crude, with big engines that burned bright flames. The colonies looked like metal boxes stuck together. They have been in space for about 500 of their years, Veltar explained. They use fusion drives and kinetic weapons. Very basic technology. Our scouts rate them as standard developmental Tier 3. Several council members made sounds of understanding. They could barely leave their home system, and their weapons were simple projectiles that shot metal bullets. Their expansion rate? Asked General Thane, though he already looked bored. Normal for a young species. They have small colonies on 12 worlds, and several space stations. Population is about 15 billion across all their settlements. The Klaxon representative clicked his mandibles together. Breeding rate? High, but within acceptable limits for their development level. General Thane nodded slowly. Standard first contact, then. Send 3 diplomatic ships with the usual welcome package. Give them the basic technology upgrades and explain council membership requirements. Any military concerns? Asked Admiral Kess of the Helios Federation. Her golden feathers rustled as she spoke. Thane laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. Look at their ships. They are barely holding together with primitive metal welding. Their biggest vessel is maybe 300 meters long. One of our patrol ships could disable their entire fleet without even raising shields. The other council members chuckled. It was true. In 3,000 years of galactic civilization, the council had never found a species that could challenge them. Most new races were grateful to receive advanced technology and protection. Who will lead the contact mission? Veltar asked. Send Diplomatic Commander Zixcal, General Thane said. He handled the Centauri contact last century. This should be even easier. Councillor Mirren nodded. Zixcal is good with primitive species. He is patient and explains things well. Perfect, Veltar agreed. Standard first contact protocol. 3 ships, full diplomatic honors, technology package, and membership invitation. Is there any other business? The council members looked around at each other. No one spoke up. Then this session is closed, Veltar announced. The human contact mission will begin in 10 standard cycles. As the council members left the Great Hall, they talked quietly among themselves about routine matters. The humans were already forgotten, just another simple species that would soon join the thousands of others under Council protection. General Thane walked slowly to his office, his heavy footsteps echoing in the corridors. He had fought in the last Great War, over 800 years ago. Since then, space had been peaceful. Sometimes he missed the challenge of real combat. But dealing with primitive species was hardly exciting. He looked out the window at the Council fleet in orbit around the capital world. Hundreds of sleek ships floated in perfect formation. Each one was a masterpiece of engineering, with energy shields that could stop any attack and weapons that could crack planets. The humans would be impressed when they saw what real technology looked like. They always were. Soon, they would give up their crude metal ships and accept proper Council vessels. Their children would learn galactic languages and forget their primitive ways. Thane smiled as he imagined the human reaction to their first sight of a Council ship. They would probably think it was magic. Their simple minds could not understand the advanced science that made such vessels possible. In 10 cycles, Commander Zixcal would arrive at the human home system. He would make contact, deliver the standard speech about joining galactic civilization, and another primitive species would become part of the Council's great peace. It was all very routine and predictable. Nothing ever changed in first contact situations. General Thane had no idea how wrong he was. Far beyond the orbit of Neptune, where the sun looked like just another bright star, something massive moved through the darkness. The UES Prometheus cut through space like a knife, 15 kilometers long. Its black hull absorbed light, making it nearly invisible against the void. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of humanity's greatest achievement. Around her, hundreds of officers worked at glowing stations that hummed with power. The bridge itself was larger than most buildings on Earth, and it was just a tiny part of the enormous ship. "Admiral," called Commander Rodriguez from his tactical station. "We have new contacts on the deep space sensors." Chen walked over to look at the display. 3 alien ships were moving toward the inner solar system. They were still far away, but Earth's early warning network had spotted them days ago. "Size and configuration?" Chen asked. "Each ship is approximately 800 meters long. Energy signatures suggest advanced plasma drives and shielding. Weapons appear to be directed energy systems." "Energy." 17. "Energy." Chen nodded. This was what humanity had been preparing for since the first human had looked up at the stars. When Earth's governments had decided to expand into space, they knew they would eventually meet other intelligent species, and those species might not be friendly. The Prometheus was humanity's answer to that possibility. While the galaxy had noticed Earth's small civilian ships and mining vessels, they had completely missed humanity's true military capability. The Prometheus and her sister ships had been built in secret shipyards hidden in the Kuiper Belt. "Power status?" Chen asked. "Antimatter reactors are running at 15% capacity," reported the chief engineer. "All weapon systems are online and ready." Chen smiled grimly. The alien ships approaching Earth had no idea what they were dealing with. While they used plasma and fusion power, humanity had mastered antimatter containment. The Prometheus alone carried enough antimatter to power a small star. "Communications from Earth Command," announced the communications officer. Chen walked to her command chair and pressed a button. Admiral Jackson's face appeared on the screen, transmitted from Earth Command headquarters deep under the Rocky Mountains. "Sarah, you've seen the visitors?" "Yes, sir. 3 ships, advanced technology, but nothing we can't handle. Rules of engagement are simple. Captain Park on the New Horizon will handle first contact. You maintain stealth and observe. If things go badly, you have full authority to protect Earth and our colonies." "Understood, Admiral." "Sarah, these aliens have no idea what humanity is capable of. Let's keep it that way, unless we have no choice." The transmission ended. Chen turned to her crew. "Tactical. Engage metamaterial cloaking. Helm. Shadow course with the New Horizon, but keep us dark." The bridge lights dimmed as power flowed to the cloaking system. Outside, space itself bent around the massive ship. Light curved around the Prometheus's hull, making it invisible to any sensor the aliens possessed. Chen thought about Captain Lisa Park on the New Horizon. Park was a good officer, brave and smart. But her ship was just a small exploration vessel, with basic shields and no real weapons. If these aliens came in peace, that would be fine. If they came as conquerors, Park would need help. The Prometheus was ready to provide that help. The ship carried weapons that existed only in theory for most galactic civilizations. Relativistic kinetic bombardment systems that fired projectiles at 15% of light speed. Plasma cannons, powered by controlled antimatter explosions. Gravitational manipulation arrays that could create artificial black holes. "Admiral," Rodriguez called. "I'm reading the alien ship's weapons. Plasma-based. Similar to our early prototype systems from 50 years ago. Shields? Energy barriers probably effective against conventional attacks, but nothing that would stop our primary weapons." Chen nodded. Humanity had learned from its own violent history. While other species might develop space travel and then grow peaceful, humans had weaponized every new technology they discovered. When they learned to split atoms, they made bombs. When they mastered fusion, they built bigger bombs. When they contained antimatter, they built weapons that could crack moons. "Distance to the inner system?" Chen asked. "Alien ships will reach Earth orbit in 18 hours. The New Horizon is moving to intercept at the designated first contact zone near Luna." Chen looked out at the stars through the bridge's main view screen. Earth was just a pale blue dot from this distance, but it contained 8 billion human lives. Every person on Earth was counting on the Prometheus and ships like her to keep them safe. "All stations, maintain silent running. We watch and wait." The crew acknowledged her orders. The Prometheus continued its invisible approach. 15 kilometers of hardened battle steel following Captain Park's small ship toward humanity's first meeting with alien intelligence. In the ship's war room, Chen reviewed humanity's defensive plans. If this first contact went well, the Prometheus would remain hidden and humanity would join galactic civilization quietly. But if the aliens proved hostile, they would discover that humanity's small appearance was very deceiving. The Prometheus carried enough firepower to fight an entire alien fleet. Her sister ships, hidden throughout the solar system, were equally powerful. Together, they represented humanity's true military might, a force that the galaxy had never seen before. Chen hoped she would never have to use it, but if these aliens threatened Earth or demanded humanity submit to their rule, they would learn why humans had conquered their own world before reaching for the stars. The countdown to first contact had begun, and the Prometheus watched from the shadows. Captain Lisa Park felt her heart racing as she watched the 3 alien ships approach. Through the view screen of the UES New Horizon, she could see them clearly now, sleek vessels that looked more like art than spacecraft. Their hulls were smooth and curved, with no visible weapons or obvious military features. "They're beautiful," whispered Lieutenant Chen at the communications station. Park nodded. The alien ships looked peaceful, almost elegant. She hoped this first meeting between humanity and galactic civilization would go well. Earth's best linguists and diplomats had prepared for this moment for decades. "Incoming transmission," Chen announced. "They're using mathematical patterns. Just like we expected. Put it on screen." The view screen changed to show an alien face. The being had blue-green skin that shimmered like water, with large black eyes and gills that opened and closed on its neck. When it spoke, the words came through the translation computers as slightly mechanical but understandable. "Greetings, inhabitants of this system. I am Diplomatic Commander Zix Cal of the Galactic Council. We come in peace to welcome you to galactic civilization." Park smiled and stepped forward. "Welcome to our solar system, Commander Zix Cal. I am Captain Lisa Park of the United Earth ship New Horizon. We are honored by your visit." The next hour went well. Both sides exchanged basic information about their species and cultures. Park shared data about human history, art, and science. Zixcal explained how the Galactic Council worked and described some of the 12-member species. But things started to change when Park transmitted Earth's full data package. She watched Zixcal's expression shift as he reviewed the information about human population, resource consumption, and military history. "Captain Park," Zixcal said, his voice cooler now, "your species shows concerning patterns. Your population growth is excessive. Your resource consumption rates are unsustainable. And your history shows an alarming tendency toward warfare." Park felt a chill run down her spine. "Commander, humanity has been at peace for over 2 centuries. We've learned from our past mistakes." "Perhaps," Zixcal replied. "But the Council has protocols for species that show dangerous development patterns. For the safety of galactic civilization, certain restrictions must be implemented." "What kind of restrictions?" Zixcal's image seemed to grow larger and more threatening. "Humanity must submit to Council oversight. Your population must be limited to sustainable levels. All military vessels must be surrendered to Council authority. Your people will be relocated to designated worlds where they can be properly supervised." Park stared at the screen in shock. "You're talking about making us prisoners in our own galaxy. You may see it that way initially. But in time, you will understand that this is for the greater good. The Council has maintained galactic peace for 3,000 years. We cannot allow one primitive species to threaten that peace. And if we refuse?" Zixcal's gills fluttered in what might have been a sigh. "Then we will be forced to implement containment measures. Your homeworld will be isolated, and your expansion into space will be permanently prevented." Park felt anger rising in her chest. "You come here, talking about peace and welcome, then threaten to destroy us if we don't become your slaves? Your reaction proves our concerns were justified. You respond to reasonable requests with hostility. This is exactly the kind of primitive behavior the Council exists to control." The alien commander turned away from the screen and spoke to someone outside the view. When he looked back, his expression had hardened. "Captain Park, you have 1 hour to contact your leadership and accept Council authority. If you refuse, we will begin demonstration bombardment of your major population centers. Perhaps watching your cities burn will help your species understand the consequences of defying galactic law." The transmission cut off. Park stared at the blank screen, her hands shaking with rage. Around the bridge, her crew looked stunned. "Captain," Lieutenant Chen said quietly, "they're powering up their weapons." Park looked at the tactical display. All 3 alien ships were charging their plasma systems and moving into attack positions above Earth. They really meant to start killing humans to force submission. "Open an emergency channel to Admiral Chen on the Prometheus," Park ordered. "Maximum encryption, all frequencies." "Channel open, Captain." Park took a deep breath. "Admiral, first contact has failed. The aliens are demanding complete surrender and threatening to bombard Earth if we refuse. They're powering weapons now." Admiral Chen's voice came back immediately, calm and deadly. "Understood, Captain. Take evasive action and get clear of the engagement zone. We'll handle this." "Understand." "Admiral, there are 3 of them. Your ship is powerful, but, Captain Park, these aliens have no idea what they're dealing with. Get your people to safety." "That's an order." The transmission ended. Park looked around her bridge. "Helm, emergency burn. Get us away from those alien ships. Maximum distance." As the New Horizon raced away from the approaching alien fleet, Park wondered what Admiral Chen had planned. The Prometheus was huge and heavily armed, but it was still just one ship against 3 advanced alien vessels. Behind them, the alien ships continued their approach to Earth, their weapons fully charged and ready to begin humanity's punishment for daring to refuse Council authority. Commander Zixkal sat in his command chair, satisfied that this first contact was proceeding normally. The humans would resist at first. They always did. But after watching a few of their cities destroyed, they would accept council wisdom and submit to proper civilization. He had no idea that 15 kilometers of human battle steel was about to materialize out of empty space, carrying enough firepower to rewrite the balance of power in the galaxy. Commander Zixkal watched his tactical display with satisfaction. The 3 council ships were in perfect attack formation, above the human homeworld. Their plasma cannons were fully charged and ready to begin the demonstration bombardment that would teach these primitives about galactic reality. Begin targeting major population centers, Zixkal ordered. Start with their largest city. 1 plasma strike should be enough to get their attention. Yes, Commander. His weapons officer replied. Cannons are locked on target. Work. Zixkal was about to give the firing order when every alarm on his ship began screaming at once. His tactical officer's voice cut through the noise, high-pitched with panic. Commander, massive energy signature appearing directly ahead. Something is decloaking. The main view screen flickered, and what Zixkal saw made his blood freeze in his veins. Where empty space had existed just moments before, a mountain of black steel was materializing. The ship was impossibly huge, longer than the tallest buildings on his home world. Wider than city blocks, bristling with weapon systems that looked like they could crack planets. By the depths, Zixkal whispered. How big is that thing? 15 kilometers long, Commander, his sensor officer reported, his voice shaking. Mass readings are off the scale. It's bigger than our orbital stations. All around the bridge, Zixkal's crew stared at the massive human vessel. It dwarfed their ships so completely that they looked like tiny fish next to a whale. The human ship's hull was covered in weapon ports, sensor arrays, and shield generators that pulsed with contained energy. A new voice cut across all communication frequencies, speaking perfect council standard with a cold, professional tone. Alien vessels. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth ship Prometheus. You will immediately stand down your weapons and withdraw from this system, or face the consequences of your unprovoked aggression against humanity. Zixkal's shock turned to anger. How dare these primitives threaten the Galactic Council? Size didn't matter if the technology was inferior. His ships carried the most advanced weapons in known space. Human vessel. Zixkal transmitted back. You are interfering with a lawful council action. Your primitive ship will withdraw immediately, or we will destroy it along with your pathetic homeworld. There was a moment of silence. Then, Admiral Chen's voice returned, and Zixkal could hear the smile in it. Primitive? Commander, I think you need to reconsider your intelligence data. Zixkal turned to his weapons officer. Target that human ship. All vessels. Concentrate fire. Let's show these primitives what real weapons can do. The 3 council ships opened fire simultaneously. Brilliant streams of plasma, each one capable of melting through the heaviest armor known to galactic science, struck the Prometheus from 3 different angles. The plasma hit the human ship's shields and simply stopped. The energy beams struck the glowing barrier around the massive vessel and dispersed harmlessly, like ocean waves breaking against a cliff. The Prometheus didn't even slow down. Impossible, Zixkal breathed. Our weapons should have cut right through any primitive shielding. Commander, his sensor officer called out. I'm reading their power source. It's antimatter. Massive amounts of antimatter. Zixkal felt his world shift. Antimatter containment was theoretical science for most council species. Only the most advanced civilizations had even attempted to harness such power, and none had succeeded on this scale. You've had your demonstration, Admiral Chen's voice announced calmly. Now it's our turn. Consider this a warning shot. A single weapon port opened on the Prometheus's hull. What emerged wasn't plasma or energy. It was a simple metal rod, no bigger than a missile. but the rod accelerated to speeds that made Zixcal's instruments scream warnings about relativistic effects. The tungsten projectile, moving at 15% of light speed, hit Zixcal's flagship before his sensors could even track it. The kinetic impact punched completely through the ship from bow to stern, as if the advanced armor and shielding weren't even there. Emergency alarms filled Zixcal's bridge as atmosphere vented into space through the massive hole. Power systems failed across the ship, as critical components were destroyed by the impact. The flagship began spinning out of control, its structural integrity compromised beyond repair. "That was our lowest power setting," Admiral Chen announced, her voice still perfectly calm. The projectile weighed 1 kilogram and was traveling at 45,000 kilometers per second. "Our main guns fire projectiles weighing 10 tons at twice that velocity. Surrender immediately, or the next shot will be aimed to kill." Zixcal stared at his ruined ship's status displays in horror. A 1-kilogram projectile had crippled his flagship, a vessel that represented the pinnacle of Council military technology. What would a 10-ton round do? It would probably vaporize his entire ship. "Commander," his communications officer called out, "the other ships are requesting orders." Zixcal looked at the tactical display. The Prometheus hung in space like a dark angel of destruction, its weapon systems trained on his remaining vessels. Behind it, his instruments were detecting more massive energy signatures. The humans had more ships. How many more? "All vessels," Zixcal transmitted, his voice barely steady. "Stand down weapons. Signal immediate surrender." "Wise choice," Admiral Chen replied. "You will now withdraw to a safe distance while we discuss terms." "And, Commander, your council should know that the Prometheus is just one of 13 vessels in humanity's current fleet. Each one is fully capable of defending our territory." As his damaged ship limped away from Earth, Zixcal tried to process what had happened. In less than 5 minutes, everything the Council thought they knew about military power had been shattered. These humans hadn't just surprised them. They had revealed technology that made Council weapons look like primitive tools. The humans had been hiding their true capabilities, letting the galaxy think they were weak and primitive while building weapons of unimaginable power. Zixcal realized with growing dread that he would have to report this disaster to the Council. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity was not another primitive species to be controlled. They were predators who had disguised themselves as prey, and now the predator had revealed its claws. As Earth grew smaller behind them, Zixcal wondered if the Council's 3,000 years of galactic dominance had just come to an end. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in 3,000 years of galactic history. Council members had been called from across known space for an urgent gathering that couldn't wait for normal scheduling. The Great Hall buzzed with worried conversations in dozens of different languages. Ambassador Veltar stood at the center of the hall, his crystal body dim with stress. Beside him, Commander Zixcal looked terrible. His blue-green skin had turned pale gray, and his gills fluttered rapidly with fear. His arm was in a medical brace, from injuries sustained when his flagship was crippled. "Council members," Veltar announced, his voice cracking like breaking glass. "Commander Zixcal will now report on the human first contact mission." Zixcal stepped forward on unsteady legs. He activated a holographic display showing the battlefield near Earth. The Council members leaned forward, expecting to see the usual images of primitive surrender and grateful acceptance of Council authority. Instead, they saw something impossible. "The human vessel that engaged our ships," Zixcal began, his voice shaking. "It was 15 kilometers long." Several Council members made sounds of disbelief. General Thane's 4 eyes widened in shock. 15 kilometers? That's impossible. No species builds warships that large. "I was there, General. I saw it with my own eyes." Zixcal activated another image, showing the Prometheus in full view. "This is what we faced." Zixcal. The Great Hall fell completely silent. The massive human ship looked like nothing any of them had ever seen. It was clearly built for war, with every line designed for maximum destruction. Weapon ports covered its hull like the scales of some metallic predator. "What did their weapons do to your ships?" asked Admiral Kess, her golden feathers rustling with nervous energy. Zixcal showed the recording of the kinetic strike. The council watched in horror as a simple metal rod punched completely through his flagship's shields and armor, like they were made of paper. The projectile weighed 1 kilogram, Zixcal explained. It was traveling at 15% of light speed. Our shields, our armor, our most advanced defensive systems, none of it mattered. The round went through our ship like we weren't even there. Counselor Mirren of the Abyssal Republic raised a shaking hand. What was their power source? Antimatter. Massive amounts of contained antimatter. Our sensors registered energy outputs that shouldn't be possible for a single vessel. General Thane stood up, his massive frame trembling with rage and fear. "How many ships do they have?" The human admiral claimed 13 vessels of similar class. Our deep scans detected multiple massive energy signatures throughout their system. The humans weren't lying. The implications hit the council like a wave. 13 ships, each one capable of fighting the entire council fleet. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted so dramatically that their whole understanding of military might was now meaningless. "How is this possible?" Veltar asked, his voice barely a whisper. Their technology readings showed primitive fusion drives and kinetic weapons. They were hiding their true capabilities, Zixcal replied. What we saw were their civilian vessels and outer colonies. Their military fleet was completely concealed. We never detected them until it was too late. Admiral Kess studied the tactical data with growing alarm. These weapons systems, some of them are based on theoretical science, gravitational manipulation, controlled antimatter reactions, relativistic projectiles. Most of our species consider these ideas impossible to implement. The humans didn't just implement them, Zixcal said bitterly. They weaponized them. Every system on that ship was designed for maximum destruction. They don't just have advanced technology, they've turned every discovery into a tool of war. General Thane sat back down heavily. For 800 years, he had been the most powerful military leader in known space. Now he felt like a child with toy weapons, facing a real army. What did they want? He asked. Nothing. Zixcal replied. They simply wanted us to leave them alone. When I offered them standard council membership, with the usual restrictions, they refused. When I threatened bombardment to force compliance, they revealed their true power and drove us off. The hall erupted in worried conversations. This had never happened before. New species always accepted council guidance, either through gratitude or fear. The humans had rejected both and backed up their refusal with overwhelming force. Ambassador Veltar called for order. Council members, we face an unprecedented situation. What do we do about humanity? We could assemble the full council fleet, suggested Admiral Kess hesitantly. Combined, we still outnumber them. General Thane shook his head. Did you see the tactical analysis? One of their ships crippled our best vessel, with a single shot at minimum power. 13 of those ships could probably defeat our entire fleet. Then what do you suggest? Veltar asked. The great hall fell silent as the council members realized the truth. For the first time in galactic history, they had encountered a species that was more powerful than they were. The humans could dictate terms to the council, not the other way around. We negotiate, General Thane said finally, not as superiors offering guidance to primitives, but as equals seeking alliance with a superior military force. The other council members looked shocked at the admission, but none argued. The evidence was too clear to deny. Prepare a new diplomatic mission, Veltar ordered. Full honors, maximum respect. We offer the humans equal partnership in the council, with full voting rights and no restrictions. "And if they refuse again?" asked Counselor Mirren. General Thane looked out at the council fleet through the hall's great windows. The ships that had once seemed so powerful now looked fragile and small. "Then we pray they're content to leave us alone." Meanwhile, back in the Sol system, Admiral Chen filed her report with Earth Command. The galaxy now knew that humanity was not to be trifled with. But she also knew this was just the beginning. Other species would want to test human strength. Pirates might think they could raid human colonies. Aggressive empires might see humanity as a threat to be eliminated before they grew stronger. The Prometheus and her sister ships would be ready for all of them. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy in terms that could not be misunderstood. They were not prey to be hunted or subjects to be ruled. They were the new apex predators of known space, and the galaxy would have to learn to live with that reality.